We've got a very interesting article we're going to talk about that breaks down the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset.
All right, you found this interesting concept here, and there's some different books written about this. There's a lot of different examples of this, but talk to us about this fixed mindset versus growth mindset. This is our mindset piece.
It talks a lot about the fixed mindset and the growth mindset and the differences and how to climb out of the fixed mindset and how a lot of that fixed mindset has to do with past experiences that trigger these emotions. And so the way they break this down, the fixed mindset, it's a conviction in the supremacy of innate abilities, i.e. what it's talking about, natural talents one is born with, often neglecting the impact of effort and perseverance. Someone with the fixed mindset, they tend to avoid new challenges, preferring to remain within the confines of their comfort zones. Maybe they tried out for a team 10 years ago and didn't make it and got rejected, so now they're scared to put themselves out there. They engage in negative self-talk, react defensively to negative feedback rather than using it as an opportunity to grow, which we talk about this a lot. I feel like youth sports programs, the way public schools are run now, we're kind of forcing these fixed mindsets upon our youth with the whole, it's okay to fail. It's okay to do this. It's okay to do that, which, yeah, you're going to fail, but how can we look at that in a positive way? And so we get into the growth mindset now, and the growth mindset talks a lot about embracing on learning opportunities and viewing the learning process as a continuous journey, right? You are going to fail over and over again, but how can we learn from that? It talks about recognizing the power of hard work and forging new connections to expand their knowledge and skills. That's what a growth mindset is going to do. And then the last key topic I wanted to point out with the growth mindset is engaging in constructive self-talk and welcoming constructive criticism as valuable tools for self-improvement, right? I think there's a fine line of being way too hard on yourself, but it's okay to be a little bit hard on yourself. It's okay to say, Ty, you really sucked this week at working out and you're gaining a little bit of weight. There's a big difference between me constantly calling myself a fat ass and developing an eating disorder. It's okay to tell yourself, you're not doing a good job, but you've got to then learn and grow from it. So Leo, before we talk about some of these differences, any thoughts on the fixed mindset, growth mindset, and how you've seen this in your life?
I think a lot about when you're a kid, right? You're a kid and you're in grade school, and your teacher, these people in charge of authority say, oh, you're really good at X, whether it's math, or you're really good at reading, or, oh, you are terrible at history, or science is not your thing. And so you get these labels put on you as a kid, and ultimately a big percentage of kids out there will take these labels and they'll run with them, and they will have a fixed mindset of, oh, I'm actually not good at this thing, when if they would have just worked hard and really learned more about it, they could have actually become exceptional at it. And so there's this fixed mindset that we get as children, and then what happens is it seems to translate into adulthood. And so then you become an adult and you're like, oh, I can't do this, or I'm not good at this thing, or I'm not a people person, I'm not good at sales, or I can't do this thing. And so we have these stories that we tell ourselves that are part of the fixed mindset, and they come from the population. They come from people in charge. They come from teachers. And so it's on us as leaders in businesses, it's on us as parents to really be aware that we might be putting labels on our kids or our team employees that are not accurate. And instead of using a fixed mindset, it should be a growth mindset of, this is something, that you don't know a lot about, but you can become an expert about this. It's the idea of whether you're a born salesperson or if it's something that you actually can learn. Yep. And it absolutely is something you can learn. It's the same thing with leadership. Leadership, you might be born with some abilities that make you have the potential to be a better leader, but unless you put the work and the time in and get a mentor and really focus on becoming a great leader and lead by example, you're never going to actually become it, but you can. And so it really is this growth mindset that you can. And most successful entrepreneurs and people who are successful in any aspect of life, they have a growth mindset and they're always working to get better. And one of the things that's great about maybe serving in the military or playing sports is those give you opportunities to receive some constructive feedback and to work on something and get better at it. And that's what I think more society is missing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing that I see just with my generation especially is staying within the confines of your comfort zone can be so crippling. But recognizing the triggers, the life experiences that got you into that comfort zone is the key to climbing out of that, right? Whether it's, for me, a personal one, Leo, right? In our culture, you go on a mission for 2 years, and it was something that I had fully planned on doing, and I prepared for it, and I went, and then 7 days later, I had come home. And for quite a few years, I had a really, really hard time putting myself out there. I had a really hard time taking on new challenges because I was so scared of that failure. And it took me finally recognizing that was the trigger for me. Then now I can work through it and understand how I can learn from that and how I can prepare better for future opportunities and future big life changes that I'm going to face. And so again, that's why I think everyone should read this article, because it talks about a lot of different strategies to locate your triggers and then get past those triggers, and some techniques that when you're recognizing this trigger pop up, what you can do to develop that growth mindset and move forward. So I think it's a great article. I don't know, Casey, if you can share it maybe you already did, share it in the notes or however that works there. But you want to break down some of these differences?
Yeah, so key differences: belief in innate abilities versus embracing the potential for development through effort and learning. I think as somebody who, I got an MBA in college, and so I'm automatically fixed mindset, a successful business person, and then they actually get to the real business world and they're like, actually I don't have any real skills that translate into making money and helping that business grow, versus someone who got a high school diploma but has spent the last 5-6 years learning and becoming an expert in an industry, in a craft, and in the sales process and in communication skills and leadership, and that person has a growth mindset. And so, of course, you can get the MBA and be very, very successful, absolutely, but there's far greater percentages of people that think because they did this one thing that they're automatically going to be successful, and that's just not how life works.
Absolutely. The second difference here, I kind of just talked about this. This is the one that hit home for me, was avoiding challenges versus actively seeking new challenges for personal growth. Again, I use the marathon example, right? Running the marathon is not what's going to create more of the growth for you personally as much as preparing for that marathon will, and just completing something that you started. So I think that's a huge one. And then the third one here, I wanted to point out, negative self-talk versus negative self-talk and defensiveness versus constructive self-talk and openness to feedback. That is something that I don't know why, but I see that so much with the younger generation, is they do not want to face any sort of constructive criticism. They're so stuck in their ways. I think they've been told for the last 18 years that it's okay, you're special, but you can still be okay, you can still be special, and you can still learn and grow from others that have already experienced something you're going through right now. And so learning to be open to that is going to help you grow tremendously as a human being.
Another example, you'll see this all the time, and watch this. Someone turns 30 years old, or they turn 40, and they'll be like, I'm just old and my body's just breaking down and this, that, and the other. When no, actually, I've seen a lot of people who get in their 40s and they get serious about eating right and working out and taking the right supplements and getting sleep and mental health and all those things. And at age 45, they're in better shape than they were at age 25. And you look at someone like, for example, a Tom Brady from age 40 versus 20, he was in better shape. And so it's all about the stories we tell ourselves. You can become whatever you want to be within certain guidelines and DNA and whatever. I mean, obviously I can't have a growth mindset and say I'm going to be able to go play basketball like LeBron James can, but as an entrepreneur, I can absolutely have a growth mindset and say I'm going to learn, really good sales skills, to be like Grant Cardone. I'm going to learn really good leadership skills from a guy like John Maxwell. There's all these different opportunities that you absolutely can achieve when you have that growth mindset. And so it's the story you tell yourself. If you're like, I just turned 40, I'm old, I'm going to be, it's all downhill from here. No, No, that's just a story you're telling yourself. There are people that are killing it in the best shape of their lives or having the most success ever, and they're doing it at all these different ages with all these different challenges. Maybe they have a bunch of kids to take care of, and they're still very successful. I mean, there's so many ways to succeed. So it is about the growth mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.